My doctors told my husband 30 male and I 31 female that our baby has many birth defects. I want to abort, he does not. This was a planned baby and I'm absolutely devastated. Me and my husband met in college and have been married for 6 years now. We have one son who is now 4 years old. I know some people are gonna wonder, but yes, we did discuss our moral, political views before even getting engaged and we're both pro-choice. When we were 21 and 20 we made a stupid mistake that ended in a pregnancy. We were both flat broke and not at all ready for kids. I decided to terminate and he fully agreed with and supported me. He loves our son so much and is an amazing father. He confided in me that he loved the idea of having a daughter as well. Luckily we're in a good financial place, so I agreed and we started trying for a second baby. We conceived fairly quickly and were overjoyed. We also soon discovered that we're having a girl. My husband was so excited. As soon as he was told, he went all out and started to plan her nursery. He asked our son to help him pick which shade of pink he wanted, which crib to get, what the theme should be, etc. It was also adorable. I don't want to reveal any personal medical history, so forgive me for being vague with the descriptions. At our last doctor's visit a few days ago we were given the news that our daughter has severe birth defects. They think that she could possibly survive the birth, but any life that she gets to experience will be painful for her. There have been medical cases of babies with the same conditions to survive from early childhood to even the teenage years rarely. These poor children suffer with so much pain and are uncomfortable their entire lives. They are very low functioning and need around-the-clock care, as well as several uncomfortable surgeries to try and give them a better quality of life. We were both heartbroken and cried for hours together in the car. Then we drove home in silence. Neither of us said anything until my husband began to quietly mumble his thoughts. He was going on and on about how we needed to schedule another doctor's appointment so we know what medical equipment we'd need to buy for her, and we should renovate the nursery again so we could care for her more easily. He said that he'd definitely have to talk to his boss so he can take a longer paternal leave. He wants to be by her side in the NICU until we can take her home. He talked about how we'd have to ask his mom to babysit our son more often while she's a newborn. He even said that maybe we could sell one of our cars, move to a smaller house, and take our son out of private school so we'd have more money to pay for our daughter's care. I was silent until he asked me what I thought. I was blunt and said that I think we should terminate the pregnancy. Now I feel bad for saying it that way, but I was still frazzled from the news. This made him very upset. He began to cry and ask why I don't want our daughter, even with disabilities. I mentioned our previous abortion. He said it was different because it was unplanned and we had no way to take care of the child. Now, we're in a pretty good place financially, so theoretically we could shoulder the cost of our daughter. I have a bit of personal history with this type of situation. My best friend in high school was at my house all the time because her parents were way too busy with her severely autistic older brother. They did love her, but she was pushed to the side her entire childhood. I told him this story. He said that we'd do better by our son and daughter. My best friend's parents were stupid for having a second kid after they already had a disabled one. He then seemed hopeful for a minute and asked if I was just afraid. He promised that he'd be by my side the whole time and we could do this together. I told him it's not about fear. Our daughter will be in pain constantly if she's born alive. It would be a short and painful life for her. I love this baby so much already. I don't want her to suffer like that. He began to yell that even if she doesn't live long we could still pour our hearts and souls into making her life as fulfilling as possible. I didn't respond and he stormed inside. It's been a couple days now and he won't even look me in the eyes. He sits in the new nursery for hours. Our son is very confused. I know he's grieving, but I really don't want to go further with this pregnancy. I love him so much, I have no idea what to do now. TLDR, husband and I learned that our planned daughter has many birth defects that would devastate her quality of life. I want to abort in order to save her from an existence full of pain. My husband wants to keep her so we can love her for however long she lives. After I made my original post, my husband and I rushed to get a second opinion. Nothing changed and it was still our originally diagnosed. Once I learned that, I scheduled the termination for as soon as physically possible. I didn't tell my husband at first. He kept on raving about how we could give her as much love in her life as we can. I feel bad for this now, but I snapped and angrily told him I was terminating the pregnancy. That I know how he feels, but I will not allow my daughter to suffer just because he wants to love her. He was very angry with me after I put my foot down. After he realized his pleading wouldn't change my mind, he didn't speak a word to me. It was like he refused to even acknowledge my existence. I was terrified that he'd go and leave me all alone with the scraps of our family. I tried to explain it to my son, but I think he still doesn't understand. Then, the night before the procedure, he stepped into my room and apologized for everyone and promised to be more supportive of me from now on. I was so happy and relieved I started to sob and he held me all night. My original plan was that my mom would drive me to the hospital, then once it's done a close friend would take me home. Since it was only the night before, he said he couldn't miss a full day of work, but really wanted to drive me home. I agreed to let him and then the procedure was done in the morning. My son is having a long sleepover with my best friend's family. I don't want him to see me like this. I agreed and the next morning the termination was done. It went fine with only minor physical pain, but the emotional toll was crushing. After I was done, he didn't show up to get me. I waited for hours and he wouldn't answer any of my calls. I ended up having total a friend out from work to take me home. When we got there, I saw just one note on the counter saying he can't do this. A few of our daughter's special toys were removed from her nursery. My entire life has fallen apart in a matter of days. I asked my mom to watch my son for a little while. I still can't contact my husband. Everything feels so pointless. I want an abortion and a divorce. I came to this sub because I want to tell this to somebody, and it seems that I can only keep it to myself. I cried for several hours. I am very scared and tired, so I think I will be rambling. I just want to put this somewhere, and my husband and his family don't know English, so this place makes me feel safe. I learned that I am pregnant this morning. I don't know how long that has been. I told my husband the next moment I knew. He was happy. He told me he was glad. He was very happy when he left to meet his parents. I opened my door today to my mother-in-law and him. He did not tell me she would come, and he knows I don't do well with unannounced visitors, especially of that importance. It was her second or third time on our apartment, but she acted like it was hers. She ordered me to sit, and I felt so anxious. My heart was beating so fast, it all felt so unsafe. I kept looking at my husband, but he never looked me in the eyes. He was looking at the floor or at his hands. His mother demanded a paternity test, right after congratulating me. It felt so awful. She didn't say anything rude or bad, but it felt like she did. It felt like she called me a prostitute. I was shocked and I kept trying to get my husband to look at me, but he would not. She noticed and ordered me to look at her, and that her son would not help me. It felt so scary. She started to threaten me with the lawyers that are friends to their family. She told me that if I was smart, I would go with her to the clinic tomorrow and this will all be over with. It felt so awful. It felt like I was completely at the mercy of this woman. It felt like she could just grab me and put her hands inside me herself, and my husband would not protect me. And the most disgusting of all, it felt like she somehow did that. It felt like she somehow put her hands inside me and tainted whatever is there. Whatever I felt for my husband died at that moment. After the shock and the fear, I felt disgust for him. I felt sick sitting there. He looked so disgusting and pathetic sitting there silent, not protecting me. It felt disgusting that I ever let him touch me, let him do this to me. Like all the love I had for him was tainted too. All I managed to say was that I need time to decide. She told me there is nothing to decide. I told her that I am choked and I need time. She told me that this was what she was afraid to hear and it's all very clear to her. It felt like I would throw up. I wanted to cry so badly and my voice was shaking, but I didn't cry. She said that she is sorry that it had to be this way, but she gave me 3 days. My husband stood to see her out, not saying a word to me. He went to see her to her car, and I was left alone. I immediately cried. I felt so scared. I felt like they could barge in and just take it out of me, if they wanted, like they thought so little of me. Did my husband always think that I was cheating, or did her? Did they always look at me and thought that I am unfaithful? Several times I tried to throw up because I was crying so hard. Why didn't my husband protect me? This is not who I married. The last time I felt so unsafe was when I was in my parents' home, and I vowed that I would never feel this way again. I married him because I felt like he could protect me, and he didn't. I still feel sick and disgusting for letting him touch me, for being pregnant by him. When I heard him come back, I locked the door to the bathroom and I have been there ever since, crying. He didn't say a word to me. I am waiting for him to fall asleep, so I can fall asleep on a couch we have in the kitchen. I don't ever want to be in the same bed with him again. I may not think clearly, but I want a divorce. I will never feel safe with this man, and I would never love him again. I know that for certain. I will never be sure that he will protect me. I can't stay. The thing that makes me scared is that I want an abortion. It was the first thing I Googled. What I have inside me is his. It ties me to him and to his mother. I want it out. While I was crying, I scratched my stomach unintentionally, and now it all red and itching. I can't think about what is inside of me without crying in hysteria. I want out, I want to be safe. It's strange and cruel, but I don't feel bad for wanting a divorce. I will lose the future that I wanted, and all my friends, and I will have to start all over again. But I did it once, when I left my birth house. I will do it again. I feel nothing towards what is inside of me. It reminds me of his mother and it scares me. I want it out. I never thought about abortion before, never been around pregnant people much. Right now I don't feel anything, but writing this post helped me calm down and I sort of have a plan now. I don't know if I should move out first, or go to a doctor first. I am afraid they will lock me if they find out. For some reason, this reminds me of the time I left my parents, and my head feels clear. I am not so panicked anymore and I mostly feel numb. But I was crying a lot earlier. I guess that's all. I want to sleep and I need to go to work tomorrow. I think that is good. Because I have the excuse to be out of the flat, I don't feel safe here. Thank you for listening. I have no friends to tell this to. From the comments, makes you wonder what your husband says about you behind your back to your MILF for her to have such low opinions of you. The thing is he agrees with his mom and what she is doing also, which is wrong. You should not ever have to feel threatened or scared in your own home. But he allowed it. Don't tie yourself to him in any way. You did it once and you can do it again. He doesn't deserve you. OP, if he thought so badly about me, why did he marry me? Why did he pursue me so much? He had a lot of better options. It feels really confusing. I always felt very anxious around his mother, but I thought it was my own issues that made me feel so. I should have known. I feel so stupid. I feel like someone fooled me. I feel really dumb. He was so glad, it makes me sick to remember it. He told me it was a good sign. I don't understand anything at all.